Straight ahead on CCX News, the first feedback is in for a possible pool in Brooklyn Park. See what area youth are looking for. Plus, getting a jump start on summer in a way you may not think about. We'll show you the effort now underway to curb hunger. But first, a devastating fire in Plymouth and what helped firefighters save neighboring homes. CCX News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. A devastating fire early Tuesday morning has left a Plymouth family without their home.
Fortunately, there were no injuries. The house is located on Brockton Lane on the city's west side. Fire departments from Plymouth and 5 nearby cities responded to the fire. When they arrived, the fire had engulfed the entire house, which is considered a total loss. Fortunately, firefighters were able to keep the blaze from spreading to other homes.
There's a buffer. The garage was not on fire, so that was the closest neighbor's house. So that did give us a buffer. But yeah, the priority at that point was protecting the exposure houses on either side.
The house was being remodeled at the time of the fire and no one was inside. The cause is under investigation.
The city of Golden Valley wants the new Brookview Community Center to be a gathering spot, and today it was a gathering spot for the leaders of Hennepin County. Chair of Hennepin County Board, Jan Callison, gave the State of the County address at the new Brookview. During her address, Callison listed a number of challenges the county faces, including transportation, infrastructure, a fractured mental health system, rapidly growing child protection needs, and affordable housing. But Callison also focused on another challenge, and that's increasing community engagement.
When people do not know what we do, we become easy targets for those who criticize government and public service. Without a citizenry that understands and feels invested in our work, public support for our role is likely to decline. In this climate of mistrust, we have very little room for error.
Callison suggested it's time for a new and unprecedented community engagement initiative that would use new communication methods as well as traditional ones. She believes it will not only help build trust, but also help the county decide where to increase its efforts and resources. Congressman Keith Ellison is meeting with local city officials about issues in his district.
One of them pertains to tariffs on steel imported from China. Reporter Sonia Goins joins us with more. Sonia?
Now, Congressman Ellison says that he meets with officials in the 5th District at least once a year. He wants to get their input on things that matter to their constituents.
Municipal leaders are critical to me trying to do a good job representing the cities in Congress.
Ellison recently met with officials from Brooklyn Center, Crystal, New Hope, and Robbinsdale. Many issues were brought up, including light rail, taxes, and affordable housing. They also talked about how tariffs with China could affect local government. Congressman Keith Ellison says the tariffs could have a negative impact on construction projects.
They're all hoping to, develop their communities in terms of housing, roads, retail, all kinds of construction projects that they have in mind. And if you increase steel tariffs, so steel is what rebar is made of, and that's a part of any construction budget is steel, and that price is likely to go up.
Now, Congressman Ellison went on to say the cost of construction could go up 20%, and that could mean some projects wouldn't happen. He says city leaders are in preliminary talks for now because the tariffs haven't been in place long enough to make a difference. Mike and Alex?
All right, Sonia, thank you. Brooklyn Park has begun gathering input for a possible aquatic facility.
The first group to give feedback, area youth.
So for the splash pad, we have like the little playground that the kids play on. And for the leisure pool, we have kind of a bigger playground and just a regular pool with basketball courts and water slides.
Youth from the Zanewood Rec Center joined city leaders and the consultant in charge of coming up with design options. A leisure pool for older swimmers and a splash pad for kids were a couple of the ideas that were heard often.
We try to, engage the community in many ways as possible when we're doing a project like this, so we can hear from the littlest to the oldest, and the teens are a great place to start.
There will be another meeting on April 18th that will be used to get input from seniors and from the swim community.
Hennepin County is on a mission to increase recycling, and to do that, it's focusing on food. The county held a seminar Monday for businesses that generate a lot of food waste. It estimates that of all the waste that ends up in landfills, about 1/3 is food. To reduce waste, the county will require hotels, large restaurants, and hospitals to participate in organics recycling starting in 2020.
Up in the Maple Grove area, it would affect maybe like Granite City Pub, Pittsburgh Blue, the larger restaurants that are up, in that Arbor Lakes area. Definitely would affect the larger grocery stores. Lund's Byerly's would have to do it, Cub Foods would have to do it, but the little mom and pop grocery store in the corner probably wouldn't generate enough waste that they would have to do it.
Right now, only about 3% of waste ends up in organics recycling, and Hennepin County hopes to increase that figure to more than 15%. The County Board is expected to approve a food recycling ordinance for businesses by late fall. It might not look like it if you look outside, but there are just 8 more weeks left of school.
That's true, and when students go on summer vacation, many lose access to free breakfast and lunch. As Shannon Slatton reports, food shelves are starting to work now on feeding students during those tough summer months.
At Near Food Shelf in Crystal, volunteers aren't just dreaming about warmer temperatures, a snow-free landscape, and summertime. They are preparing for it.
We are having our Schools Out Lunchbox program where the people from Target are coming to put food into the boxes.
There is a push to provide more food for hungry students during the summer months, and food shelves are already working now, while they have the hands and the donations to prepare for the summer months when the need is high and donations are low.
Because the kids are home from school and there's no free lunches and there's no free breakfast, and it helps them.
Volunteers are packing 22-pound boxes full of snacks and food to help 250 families. Jan Monroe, who has been with Near for 35 years, says it's causes like this that make the work worthwhile.
I'm in this for the children. The children are our most important thing that we have. We want to make sure they're fed and happy.
The cause isn't lost on this group of volunteers either.
We like to contribute to areas in the community, and Crystal is a community that always loves and supports Target, so why not give that back to them?
They will leave knowing they helped Near get a jump start on summer and feeding hungry children.
At the end of the day, I'm going to feel much better about what I was able to contribute, even if it's just a little bit more.
In Crystal, Shannon Slatton, CCX News.
Feeding children from low-income families is a challenge for schools and food banks alike. The Minnesota Department of Education says its summer food service program only reaches 18% of the children who need it. Still ahead, we'll take you to Wayzata Central Middle School for today's School Spotlight. What the school does to connect students while they get in touch with the outdoors.
Plus, the Maple Grove softball team hopes to make a return trip to the state tournament this spring. We'll have a preview coming up later in sports.
But first, getting a little bit warmer. Temperatures could hit 50 on Wednesday. Middle school takes place during that time in life when children begin to develop into adults.
It is a time in a child's life when they're still trying to figure out who they are. And as Delane Cleveland reports, in today's School Spotlight, Wayzata's Central Middle School provides students with a unique learning opportunity that helps them grow.
On the campus of what was once Wayzata High School, more than 1,200 students make their way to a place that's been called Central Middle School since 1997.
We have this big footprint, and so we've got the classroom, we've got teachers, we've got the resources, and things are working out great.
One of the reasons Principal Clark Doughton says things are working out great is because they're able to make this big school feel smaller by having teachers work in teams. 4 teachers share a pool of kids, and all those kids in the pool share the same teachers.
And those kids really get to know each other well. The teachers know them. It becomes more of a family-style environment.
He says a family-style environment plays a big role in making students feel comfortable, and comfort is important as teachers work to get them ready for what comes next.
So we spend a lot of time talking about high school readiness, but we always have that end target of being a really functional adult out there in the world.
Yet there's only so much that a classroom can do to prepare students for the real world. That's where Wolf Ridge comes into play.
Wolf Ridge is it's probably one of the most talked about experiences that a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader has at Central Middle School.
Every year, more than 400 students in the 6th grade take a bus 4 hours north and spend a week at the Wolf Ridge Environmental Learning Center. It's where they're immersed in science, the environment, and with each other.
Some students who've never been away from home, and here's their experience to just grow a little bit more.
Christy Alstad is one of the main organizers of the annual trip, and during the course of the week, students do everything from rock climbing to learning winter survival skills to tapping maple trees. But the trip is also a bonding experience.
Once we're up there, we're this family unit. I get to know these kids on a different level, which translates really well back in the classroom. Let's see.
When they get back in the classroom, they're asked to put together a memory book.
It's a lot of work.
And each book tells a story of the student's personal growth.
They'll talk about the experiences of not having their parents cooking, but also not having their parents cooking.
It's a real-world experience that comes at a time when students are trying to figure out their place in society.
It's one of those things that, as I talk to former 6th graders that are now in high school or past high school, they still talk about their Wolf Ridge experience and all the growth that they experienced because of that trip.
It's an experience they can't get from any book or iPad.
We're just proud of them every day they walk into school.
In Plymouth, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
The students documented their Wolf Ridge experience on social media, and if you'd like to check out their adventures, you can find a link to the school's Twitter page on our website at ccxmedia.org. Well, still ahead, a former teacher inducted into Cooper High School's Hall of Fame. What he did that's had a lasting impact.
But first, hear from the new head coach for the Osseo girls basketball program. John Jacobson is in next.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. The Osseo girls basketball team won just 2 games this past year, and former head coach Jen Mullen resigned during the season. A new coach was recently named, and CCX Sports' Jay Wilcox caught up with him at a meeting with players and parents.
Thanks, John. We are joined by the new Osseo girls basketball coach, Doug Erlien, and tell me about getting this job and how exciting it is to kind of hit the ground running with the program.
Well, it's been a whirlwind last couple days. Yeah, it is. You hit the ground running, or you try to. It's been a lot of fun. I think for me, working in the building it has its advantages. I kind of know some of the kids, and we're just trying to get people fired up about it. And I think that it's such a from a program perspective, it's historically it's one of the top programs in the state on the girls' side, and so certainly we're looking to build that back, and that just takes time.
You've been around basketball around the area. Tell us a little bit about your background in coaching and what led the steps that led up to this Orioles job.
Yeah, I've been with the other side of town over at Maple Grove for 12 years, 10 in a volunteer coach capacity, and then the last 2 with Coach Cook as the 9th grade coach, and so I'm very familiar with that side of town, and have a lot of respect for all the coaches over there, and Mark does a great job. And outside of that, I've been involved in ONGBA, and I was president of the board for a year, and back in 2008, and so I kind of know the dynamic there from the youth perspective, and so it's been fun. I've coached on the AAU circuit, so.
Certainly a great history to this program, like you said, but no 2 ways about it. Last year was a very difficult year. What will it take to get that turned around?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. I think that from a mentality perspective, we need to get back to back to how, when you think about Osseo Orioles athletics in general, not just the basketball side, but I think that they're a lunch pail group, and so there's not a lot of flash and sizzle, and there's just a lot of, we just need to work, and when things get hard, which they're going to, we can't stop working, and so I think that's kind of where you start.
Erlien is in the process of putting a coaching staff together. He's hoping to get some former Osseo girls players to be part of that staff. The Maple Grove softball team reached the state tournament last spring for the 6th time since 2010. Crimson believe the pieces are in place for another strong postseason run. After a spring trip to Florida 2 weeks ago, the Maple Grove softball team, like every other spring team around, is back inside for now. They wait for the season to begin. The players are making the most of it.
It's really important just for us to keep a positive mindset and know that really soon we are eventually going to get onto the field, and we just try really hard to pump each other up and try to make the best of what we can with our situation.
We've definitely been getting a ton of reps in because we have had to be in the dome, but our hitting has gotten a lot better over these last few weeks, definitely because of all the tee work we've been doing.
Maple Grove defeated Spring Lake Park in last year's Section 5 4A final to get to state. A strong core of players are back, including pitcher Eva Dewitt, pitcher infielder Lauren Anderson, outfielder Marie Palinch, plus catcher Sophie Colhane, and infielder Jade Tomaszek.
I mean, I think we got a lot of players out here that are returning that were in the state tournament last year. We've got kids who have put a lot of time in this summer and worked extremely hard to improve their game. You can definitely see it when the kids are out here. So we're looking for a good season.
Last year we were getting to know each other as a team and seeing how we work and everything, and now that we know each other, now that we have those relationships, able to put that towards our process going to state, I think we're all really excited.
I think just our program as a whole has developed really well, and we work hard every year to keep that tradition going and making sure that we're bringing people up and stick with the high expectations that we have.
The Crimson have enough talent to pitch and hit well and contend in the Northwest Suburban Conference and Section 5. Now if they can just get outside. Maple Grove has postponed 2 conference games this week until later this month. Their home opener is scheduled for Thursday, April 19th. That's all for sports. Alex and Mike, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Still ahead, a former teacher who has left his mark at Cooper High School.
And what he did that got kids thinking about a possible future career. We'll be right back.
A former teacher at Cooper High School will join 34 others in the school's Hall of Fame this weekend.
Howard Schwartz retired in 2012 after restarting Cooper's Business and Marketing Education Department.
I mean, I worked for the kids. That's my employer. And, you know, you don't come from business without an attitude about working for the customer. These kids were my customers.
Teaching was Schwartz's second career after 25 years in business that included hospital administration at the University of Minnesota. He worked to build a business and marketing program at Cooper.
If I could get the kids excited about that as a career option for themselves, because everything involves the kinds of things you teach in business and marketing classes, they would pick up on that. And I have that feedback from so many kids and so many parents who had never thought about pursuing a career in business.
Schwartz taught at Cooper from 1999 to 2012. He was the coach of the school's Quiz Bowl program and advisor for the National Honor Society. The induction ceremony will be held Saturday at 2 p.m. at Cooper, and the public is invited. And he said the first thing that the kids recognized about him was the bow tie. And he had a different one for every day of the school year.
Wow. It's good to be known for that.
That's right. That'll do it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.